Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Bully gropes girl, gets his butt handed to him. So there is this very small girl at the time in 8th grade, and her father is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor. I don't know if that's what you call it. Like he has his own school and everything. Dad obviously taught her how to defend herself. One day a bully, male and in 12th grade, is getting a bit weird and starts trying to flirt with her, and she's very uncomfortable. Creepy bully persists. He was harassing this little girl for at least 5 minutes. He then gropes her. And I don't think anyone has ever hit a combo move so quickly. This girl has pulled off what has got to be one of the fastest knockouts ever. She kicks him in the groin and follows it with an uppercut, which followed back down into an atomic elbow. This grade 12 guy was out like a light in less than half a second. Anyway, the parents of the bully start trying to take action and get this girl in as much trouble as possible for beating up their son. They called a meeting with the principal and the girl's parents. The principal sided with them and decided that the girl should leave their school. Her dad is furious, but the school doesn't budge. Eventually, the dad says, "My daughter is starting at this school, and that sicko is leaving. He can either leave quietly and immediately, or we can escalate this. We will sue for sexual assault and come after both the school and the family." And at that, eventually the school waived all the punishment the girl had been given and expelled the bully on the spot. That dad could not have been prouder of his daughter for knocking out a creep who was literally 3 times her size. Next story. Screw is me, okay. But screw is my dogs and cats, get screwed. I have 3 dogs, Tiki, Scruffy and Bailey, which my family has rescued from the streets and from uncaring neighbors who couldn't care if the animals died. I also have 2 cats, Halo and Snowflake, both of which I adopted from the SPCA. I have Tourette's, ADD and OCD, and the tics from the Tourette's made me a prime target for bullying. At that point in my life, I was a shy weird kid in the class that never spoke. I had no friends and my companions were the only reason I woke up in the morning. One kid named Andrew, I don't care enough to change his name, loved to feel strong, so he picked on me. He beat me up, made me feel like trash and sicked other trash human beings on me, one of which I later in my life became friends with. In general, I'm really patient and very vengeful. One day my mom brought one of my dogs, Tiki, to school so we could take her to the vet without driving back home because the closest vet was 50 kilometers away and Tiki needed a heart scan. My mom needed the toilet, so she left Tiki with me. Straight after she left, Andrew and 2 of his goons showed up. "What's this, Paz? Got a new toy for us to play with?" "Andrew, please, she's very sick. I'm begging you, please leave her alone." "Oh, but where is the fun in that?" Andrew then proceeds to pick Tiki up and toss her to his friends. Tiki had surgery and steel bars placed on a few of her bones, so it hurts her a lot if you don't pick her up properly. Because of the pain she's in, she snaps at Andrew and bites his hand. "Little witch, learn respect." Andrew then proceeds to chuck Tiki a solid 5 meters, where she hits the ground on her side. I begin to scream and my mom starts to run from the bathroom after hearing my scream. Andrew and his gang then run laughing. My mom and I scoop Tiki up, who's wheezing and bleeding from her mouth, and take her to the vet, while I tell my mom what happened on the way there. And Tiki ended up passing away because of brain hemorrhaging from the blunt trauma. Scruffy waited at the front door of my house for 2 days, waiting for Tiki to come home. Waiting. I tried to tell the staff what happened, but Andrew was a popular kid and his parents were very close friends with the principal, so nothing was done to get justice. This whole ordeal caused me to become immensely depressed, but in the end, I was left a festering vessel of rage. No more quiet shy kid. No more little weak boy. No more. Just no more. I devised a plan. I went to the gym every morning at 4:30 until 5:30. Then I would get dressed and go to school. This boosted my self-confidence and I soon gained a few friends who are still my friends to this day. I became a teacher's pet, and I made the whole school think I was a loyal goody two-shoes teacher's pet, all according to plan. After 3 years, I was seen by the staff as the epitome of a good and innocent student. No one would suspect me to harm anyone else. Andrew had a scholarship to my school for playing sports, and it was his passion in life. It would be a shame if someone were to end that. I told some people who I knew would take action what he did to my dog and how I knew some people that would pay generously for the service. And next week everyone is chatting in class. You hear what happened to Andrew? Yeah, I heard someone mugged him and busted up his leg. A comminuted leg bone was what was left. The assailant smashed Andrew's leg with a hammer so many times that the bone broke into more than 5 pieces. The leg was unsalvageable. Bye-bye scholarship and all his favorite things to do in life. No one suspected me. The outgoing, kind teacher's pet who never held grudges. Yes, definitely not me. Andrew, if you're reading this, I have just one thing to say. See you in hell. Okay, that was a little bit dark. Yeah, that was a dark story. Next story. Boss says I have to scan packages before I load them, then gets mad when I refuse to load unscanned packages. First things first. The backstory. I work at a large hub facility of a well-known shipping company as a package handler. Essentially, it's our job to handle the packages, as the name implies, pulling them off trucks, sorting them out, and putting them on new trucks, depending on where we're putting them in the facility. I work with the main delivery trucks that deliver packages to homes and smaller businesses. The packages come with barcodes on the side as well as small spot labels that allow someone to see the address and which truck they are to be put on. We used to be given small scanners that would scan the barcodes in order to ensure we didn't put the packages on the wrong trucks or get a package that didn't belong in our area. Sometimes the labels could be wrong due to human/technical errors, or a package might lose its label. The trucks are even fitted with sensors, so if you scan a package and try to walk into a truck where it doesn't belong, the scanner would start to whine. With that setup, now enters our main antagonist in this story, Alan, my former supervisor. Alan is a short, skinny guy with a thin mustache and is a micromanager of the highest degree. He always walked up and down the trucks to watch us work, watched us from a distance or close by with his arms crossed to get us to work faster, constantly told us to grab all our packages as they come to us despite the fact they go around on a moving conveyor belt that literally loops them back if we miss them, told us to load up our larger packages as soon as we get them, despite the fact it makes it harder to move through the trucks and place other packages on the shelves, and even hopped into some people's trucks to move packages around the right way, his way. I can go on and on about Alan, but today I'm here to vent about just one of these events or we will be here all day. So anyways, Alan had me and all the other package handlers of our area in a group texting chat in order to tell us our start times for our next shift, as well as compare our work speeds to each other via our scanning count. I assume it will make us feel bad and work harder, but we don't really care. Around that time, the number of packages we misloaded onto our trucks, as we call it, had increased. And ever since Alan had been adding to his group messages that we need to scan every package and make sure we are aiming for 0 misloads. Annoying but nothing too serious. At least I thought. Onto the actual story portion. So one day, I'm working on a belt as usual and my scanner suddenly decided to screw up on me, as they tend to do, if smacked or if the battery comes loose. I went to Alan and asked him if he could help me fix it or give me a new one to use. Instead, he takes it and tells me to keep loading my trucks without the scanner and just use the labels on the packages. This isn't really allowed, and instead I chose to stack the packages in front of the trucks so I can scan them once I get a new scanner. Alan eventually comes down and tells me to just load them into the trucks normally and to stop stacking. Frustrating, but I shrug and do it to try and avoid any real conflict. That evening, Alan messages a group and lists out our speeds with me at the bottom and is once again spouting on that we need to make sure we are scanning our packages before loading them, and even comes to talk to me the next day about my number of misloads. I'm angry, of course, as he's the one that told me, but at that point I was still fairly new to the job and did not really feel comfortable arguing with the supervisor. So I just tried to continue on with my work with a mental note of always scanning my packages no matter what. So he can't pull this again, unaware that this will be my malicious compliance later on. Fast forward a few months later, Alan is leaving for real estate and is training one of the package handlers to be his replacement before he leaves. By that time, I am fed up with all the micromanaging and pestering, and just cannot wait for him to be gone. It's about the final week of his employment that I'm working the build, and once again my scanner freaks up and stops working. I hand it over to Alan once again, and just like before, as if he has never cared about scanning, he tells me to keep loading the trucks. I smile to myself and nod, so I continue stacking my packages in front of my trucks, waiting for that new scanner to arrive. Not long after, Alan comes back with a trainee at his side. He asks me what I'm doing and I tell him I'm stacking my packages. Once more, he tells me to keep loading my trucks and this time I talk back, telling him I'm not loading them without a scanner. I have to admit, at this time, I was done with Alan and let my anger get the better of me. Raising my voice and getting a bit shaky as I have a very hard time dealing with anger, especially after dealing with his crap for so long. The trainee tries to settle the situation and tell me to just keep stacking and they will get a scanner right away. But he was interrupted by Alan telling me once again to load my trucks, and this time it was louder. I flatly respond no, and thus it goes back and forth like this for nearly half a minute before I eventually tell him to get it to me in writing because I am not getting fired over this. Remember, we're not supposed to load a package without scanning it, and can indeed get in trouble if they can prove we did it intentionally. This seems to get him even more mad and he eventually tries to pull the head supervisor card. He asks me if I would like him to go get the head supervisor to try and intimidate me, I guess. I wasn't able to chuckle in my anger and just told him to go ahead and get him. Him and the trainee walk off with him storming down the build. A few minutes later, the trainee comes back with a scanner in hand, apologizing and telling me to just get back to work. I did not see Alan for the rest of the day, and if memory serves, the rest of his final week as well. Next story, entitled Parental Figure Gets Karma. So I grew up the victim of narcissistic abuse. My sister, who was 12 years older than me, demanded the parental role, and my parents, enablers, allowed it so she wound up in a largely parental role. There is story after story of her abuse of me, including standing me in front of her friends when I was 10 to break down how fat I was. I was in Weight Watchers by 11 by my own request, phoning my school to demand they drug test me. They said no. Phoning in an anonymous tip that I had drugs in my locker. I didn't. Diagnosing me with various disorders and more. She's a social worker. The entitlement comes in that she believed I was her property to do with as she pleased. She once used a tabula rasa theory to justify this. When she got married and had a son, I was 16, she made my life hell to make me leave. I was living with them and my parents couldn't take me. However, as I was couch surfing and sleeping in parks, She demanded I come to her home every day after school and babysit my nephew for free. If I didn't, she threatened to have me committed. Remember those diagnoses? Again, there is more, but suffice it to say, it would take up way too much space to relate. I was always told not to talk to outsiders about all this, because they would take me away and put me in a horrible place called foster care, where she would threaten to have me locked up. So all my life I put up with this. At 45, I finally had enough. My father and I made peace with his role in it all before he passed, and that was all I needed. I went low contact with my sister, and I still even now maintain some contact because my mother is alive with dementia and I wanted to remain informed of her care. So other than talking about my mother, she is out of my life. Fast forward to May/June of this year, and during one of the calls about my mother's care, she's gotten COVID but survived, I found out that my sister's husband has a rare form of blood cancer and is unlikely to survive. My sister is legally blind, and her son moved to the northern part of the province and has little contact with her. Her childhood friend died, so now my sister is largely alone and looking to me for comfort. Well, I finally made it clear to her that's not going to happen. She made her bed, and now she can lie in it. I have a life to live. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.